Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and you are watching Zoma Stage. If you tuned in last week, then you've already watched the character review for Jason from Grand Army. So this week, we're going to be talking about Dom. I kept battling between talking about Dom's story as the last character review, but I just couldn't wait any longer. I think she deserves her flowers and she deserves her recognition. So today we are going to do a character review on Dom. So let's get into it. So Dom's story is very complex and it tells the story of an immigrant family. Right away, I could see some parallels between her life and some of my friends who come from immigrant families. There are some situations that she was put in by her family that were triggering, and then there were other situations that were very comedic because I think a lot of us can relate to it. Where do I even start with her? Dom is the definition of a steadfast, selfless, headstrong, pure-hearted woman. Everything she stood for reflected all those qualities and showed that she would do anything for her family and she would do anything for the betterment of her friends, the people that she held close to her heart, the people that she loved, and the people that meant a lot to her. And that was something that I really respected about her. I mean, at times she did do it to the detriment of herself, but a lot of times I could reason with why she made the decisions that she did. So when we're first introduced to Dom, we see her hanging out with her 3 girl best friends, and they're cracking jokes and doing what young teenage girls do. It's revealed that she has a crush on one of these guys who we don't know very well, but we soon learn that he is John, the leader of the Black Student Union, or whatever the name of the school group is called. So basically, she has a crush on this guy. She has 3 girl best friends. She's on a girls basketball team, and she's just Dom. We see the bomb happen. We see all the students get rushed to the stairwells for lockdown and protection. And then we see Jason and Owen take her wallet, start playing with it, and then consequently she loses $200, which she needed to pay for her niece and nephew's fencing classes. From that point on, character development begins. Anyone in their right mind would have been upset if they lost that money, if they lost the money that they were saving for a long time as a way to surprise 2 little kids who they love and adore and who they spend so much time taking care of. She wanted to see a smile on her face. So anyone would be upset if that opportunity was ripped away from her, because now her niece and nephew are going to have to suffer. The way she handled that issue, I don't think I would have handled it any better. Was actually pretty good. She didn't sit here and try to fight anyone or try to berate anyone or try to demean anyone. She was rightfully angry for the fact that she lost her money. So her reaction was justified to me. Even when Joey tried to come to her defense and she ended up telling Joey to mind her business, all that stuff was all linked to the fact that she was clearly upset that she lost $200. From there on, we're introduced to her family, and we soon learn that Dom is a Haitian American. Quite literally fits the narrative how first generation kids from very different cultural communities try to blend in to the Western world while still trying to maintain their traditions and values from the homeland of their parents. We then see that Dom's home life isn't perfect, and that every time she goes home, there's so many things that need to be done. There's so many responsibilities that are on her plate that she has to get accomplished before she can even open up her books to do her homework. Being the youngest of 2 daughters that her mom has, they come from a single parent apartment with about maybe 2 bedrooms. Her older sister lives there, and her older sister alone has 3 kids. So it's definitely a packed apartment in the city of Brooklyn. And we all know, if you're from the Northeast side, or if you've been to New York before, we all have seen how small those apartments are and how you literally just have to find a way to fit everything in. So Dom has to cook, Dom has to clean, Dom has to help her niece and nephew do their homework, Dom has to help her niece and nephew go to bed. One of the interesting dynamics is the fact that one of her nephew is a teenager and is very well capable of working to try to bring more income into the house or helping around the house. But because he's a guy, and we know how responsibility tends to not be stressed as much on the male population in cultural households, we see how he's allowed to be lazy and not do anything to help take some of the burdens off of Dom's plate. But we see that Dom tries all so hard. I mean, I think in the back of her head, she also doesn't want to complain because she doesn't want to stress her mother out even more, and she doesn't want to make her mom or her sister feel bad. I think that was a responsibility that she put on herself. That played the biggest role in basically all of her decisions. Eventually, we realized that her mom has been propositioning her to help a young fellow Haitian get his green card. In order for that to happen, Dom is going to have to marry the boy. They're going to have to present a life like they've known each other forever, take pictures, make it seem like they've been living together forever, like they're in love, in order to get that process going and to try to get approval for him to get his green card. So Dom is put in a rock in a hard place because during this time she has also finally developed a relationship with John, who was her mystery boy crush, and we see that they're going steady. John is an upstanding, amazing, respectful, incredible guy who, treats her well, and they have the same interests. They're all about Black rights, and they're all about speaking up for things that they deserve. They're all about just justice. So it honestly seems like they're a match made in heaven, and now Dom is faced with the tough decision of whether or not she has to break up with him in order to definitely sell the story that her and the other Haitian teenage boy are in this for the long haul. It's kind of funny because we never talk about their age during this process, and how that in and of itself is taboo in America, to even be getting married that young or be in a relationship. So I wonder why they didn't address that. That would have been a little bit questionable, especially if they were trying to go through that whole marriage as a way of getting your green card process. The most difficult decision with going through with that was the fact that you have to prove that you've been together for like 2 or 3 years in order to even do that. So that wasn't a lighthearted commitment. In order for her to accept that, she would have had to understand all of the repercussions, all of the stipulations, fine line details, just to make sure that she knew what she was getting herself into. And Dom did know this, and she still did accept this because her family was desperate for money. So now she ends up accepting it, and she doesn't tell John because she just doesn't want him to be involved in her family issues, because John comes from a totally different situation. So although he was raised by a single mother, his mom has like the American dream story. She had him young. She didn't raise him with his father. She had to hustle basically to get to where she was now, to build up her career to where it is now. Live in a nice apartment. She has food on the table every day. John eats well. The mom eats well. The mom dresses well. It was such a stark contrast, and I think for her to even want to bring John into that situation would have been not only embarrassing for her, it's made it even more noticeable of just how much her family was struggling. And with every episode, the emotions grew stronger, the tension grew stronger. Like, what was Dom going to decide to do? With the toughness of the decision that she was going to have to make, I think as human beings, we all have pride, so we can't really tell anyone how to deal with that. We're all very different. And in Dom's situation, I can see why she wouldn't want to go there and tell him every single detail, but that ended up causing her relationship to suffer because he ended up thinking that he did something wrong. I do think it was still kind of unfair to John, but at the same time, she was faced with like a really life-changing decision to make. So when she made that decision, I kind of was disappointed, only because I didn't think it was her burden to bear, and I didn't think it was right for her family to put that much pressure on her. I think she's such a young girl. She's so smart. She has so much potential to go so far in life. We know Dom is going to make it in life and be very comfortable and be so comfortable that she can even take care of her family. Like, we know. But of course, from the outside looking in is a lot different from the inside looking in, especially since her family is struggling and her mom can only do so much. I can see why she was just asking for her daughter to do this favor for her, but at the same time, I don't think it was right because her daughter did suffer for a good majority of the show. I'm glad that eventually, once Dawn had her birthday and her birthday party, her mom was able to observe how much of just a young girl she was, with so much ahead of her, how happy she was around her friends and her boyfriend, and how she just wanted to just be and live and have a childhood. Once she realized that, I was so happy when her mother ended up telling her, okay, you don't have to do this. We're going to find a way. I'll get a second job. Don't worry. Just be a kid. I loved the fact that her mom did that so much, because I know that if she didn't, Dom would have never said no. Dom would have never backed out, because she had that subconscious belief that she was responsible for making sure that her family was going to be okay. And of course, it was unwarranted, and it wasn't a pressure that she had to put on herself, but innately, when you come from such a complex background. These are some of the thoughts that kind of go through your head even when you don't want them to. I think Dom ended up having a happy ending. Her mom was able to see that she was a kid. She was able to make amends with John and just be happy. I just loved to see the smile on her face after all the things she had been through. Moving away from the whole topic of her family, just to quickly address the issues between Dom and Jason and Owen. At first, I didn't understand why she was being so standoffish, even after Jason and Owen gave her money back. But I do understand the fact that that money was more of an urgent thing, and the fact that they paid her back wasn't the issue. It was the fact that she needed it, she had it, and then all of a sudden she didn't because of their stupid decision. I still have to give my respect to Dom. Could have easily told the full truth of what happened that day in the stairwell, got Jason and Owen into even bigger trouble, and really tried to be vengeful. Like, she really could have done that. Of course, some people's opinions might differ, but no one can really tell you how to react or be when you've been wronged in any manner. So the fact that she even looked out for Jason and Owen, and even when the lady was trying to cross-examine her and confuse her, she still held her ground, stayed on code, and made sure that she didn't say anything that would further penalize Jason and Owen. I had to give her my respect, because even Jason couldn't do that because he ended up mistakenly falling off code. Yes, she was upset. Yes, she was annoyed that she even had to be a part of this whole debacle. She was annoyed that she even had to add these school issues onto the plate. We saw how Dom went from being such a top student in basically all of her classes to failing a class that she never had issues with before. But I think her having to take that L from that situation kind of mentally trapped her and made her feel like she had to do anything to avoid that happening again. She did what she had to do in order to make sure that her family was going to be good. Like, the girl is a hustler. With that kind of mentality, she's going to be good, like I said, no matter what. It's just that, you know, along the line, that pressure and that stress did make her falter in a lot of areas, including, like, arguing with her friends because they didn't really know the depth of the issues that she was going through. But all in all, I think Dom's story definitely made me happy by the end. It made me happy to see her smiling. It made me happy to see her relieved. It made me happy to see those chips on her shoulders literally just disappear. So I am really excited to see where things go in her life, especially how she's going to do in that mentorship program that she was able to receive an offer for after her incredible interview. That scene was beautiful, by the way. All in all, I love Dom. I think they did a great job of depicting how life can sometimes be for a first-generation child in America. I can't wait to see how her character continues to develop in the upcoming seasons. So thank you so much for tuning into this week's character review of Grand Army, and I'll see you all in my next one.